Hi guys, it has been a minute since I've done like a sit down video, just kind of chatting. So I thought I would talk a little bit about divorce things. I do have a full video that explains my entire side of the story. It's pretty lengthy, like I think it's at 45 minutes right now, and it has taken me evidently almost 9 months to make it. And that is because each time I tried to make it, one, I couldn't keep myself together. It was just an emotional mess. And two, the story was kind of all over the place because I would start telling it, get very upset, and have to kind of restart. So it just has taken me a really long time to get to a point where I can sit down and film the whole thing without it crumbling me to pieces. So it's filmed. I don't know when I will release it, if I will release it. I know I want to, and that's the plan. I just feel bad, like, you know that feeling when you know you're doing something right for yourself, but it still hurts because you know it's gonna hurt somebody else, even though you know it's the right thing to do. That's kind of in the, like, that's the position that I'm in right now. I've prefaced a little bit before that I've had legal counsel advice on how to go about this. I've made sure to document every single occurrence with dates, times, witness testimonies. Like, I've got it all. That might sound so crazy, but when you were told over and over again that things never happened, you start to feel crazy. I literally started to feel crazy because one minute she would say, I never did any of those things. I don't know what you're talking about. I never did them. And I'm like, yes, you did. For 4 years, I was witness to this pattern of behavior, this destructive behavior that not only put your life on the line, but put others' lives on the line. Like, and it got to the point where I felt crazy because I'm like, oh my God, she's telling me she never did, but like, I know she did, you know? Also, our divorce lasted so long because some of you know, or many of you know, she had brought legal counsel to the table, even though I begged and begged and begged, literally on my hands and knees, for her to not do that because it gets you nowhere, and it got us nowhere, except for the fact that her parents were able to pay for her attorney, and I don't have that kind of financial support, so I had to pay for my own, and that was thousands and thousands of dollars for them to, again, do nothing. And I couldn't talk about it too much online because she had originally tried to put a clause in the settlement that I was not allowed to talk about anything on social media. Yeah, you sure as hell bet I didn't sign that, because there is no way in hell I was going to be silenced. And now that it's officially done, it's been done for like a month now, I am free to do as I wish because I have been holding my truth in for so long. And honestly, I don't even think I would have needed to share anything if we could have moved on cordially and peacefully, but obviously that's not what happened, because when her own friends are now coming to me and sharing information that she has said about me, that's just unacceptable. Between the horrible harassment I've been receiving like these terrible DMs and messages and Reddit pages made by people associated to her and, you know, to us, because it was originally our friend group. It's not fair. And a lot of people have asked, they're like, you know, you never shut up online, like you never stop talking about it. And like, yeah, because that's the only place I can talk about it. I lost an entire group of people here in Rochester. I didn't even get a chance to tell my side to any of them. I tried, but she had already gone and planted multiple fires that turned into a forest fire, and I wasn't even able to get in there to try and help. Which I guess in turn you could argue those people were never really friends to begin with. So let's get cozy. Grab a drink or a snack, and I'm gonna talk not about why the divorce happened, but I'm going to talk about what happened after the separation. Because in lesbian world, it is very common for, you know, it's pretty stereotypical. I don't really know if it's the truth because it hasn't happened to me, for exes to rekindle or get back together, but there was no chance of any kind of reconciliation in this separation because of what happened after we decided to separate. The behaviors that followed will haunt me for the rest of my life. And I just want to make it very clear, like, I am no innocent party here. I was part of the situation that her and I both created. There's no victim in a situation that you're a part of, especially when you are equally causing pain and suffering to the other person. I very much caused pain and suffering for her. I am very aware of that. As humans, it's inevitable we're going to do that. Most of the internet is not on my perspective of what happened, and that is because I've been the only one really talking about it. But like I said, she has not wanted me to share my truth. She has not wanted me to talk, and that is because of she's afraid of what I'm gonna say, because I have specific, like I said, documented information. I don't have anything to hide. I have literally nothing. The accusation that I cheated was a narrative crafted by her friends, which unfortunately was what convinced her to, I believe, this is again opinion based, I believe what solidified her decision to leave. I do believe that if there weren't these outside voices piping in, we would have solved things a lot differently. Because I have learned through therapy and also creating some other beautiful relationships with women in these past 9 months that the way that things were handled were not appropriate. And one could also say they were not appropriate on my end either. And I take accountability for that. I do. Anyways, we're not gonna get into the what happened. That's for another rainy day, or snow for that matter. But some of the reasons why the relationship never was going to reconcile, he likes his forehead kisses, was number one, Simon, was number one, the decision to bring legal counsel against me. I can't tell you how that scene played out without it just being so traumatizing. I was on my hands and knees at her feet begging her to not bring lawyers into this, because I really didn't have the financial means to get my own lawyer. I just didn't, and I had no choice to eventually, because she served me papers. She served me a settlement agreement, which again I didn't agree with, and then that in turn caused so much turmoil in our relationship. And then another huge factor why there was never going to be any reconciliation was that she stayed in the house. So that story has kind of been floating around social media, and I definitely want to clarify it, because she didn't force me out. That was never the case, but I was really given no option. So basically what happened was there were a few weeks in between when we were fighting, when we were trying to decide what we wanted to do, and she was staying at a friend's house. And eventually, after I went away for a little girl's trip to Nashville, and her parents had come over to the house, which I didn't even know that they came over. She had turned off the security cameras, and I wasn't even aware that they were on the property, which I would have never let them on the property to begin with, because they have been nothing but vile to me. And after they came to visit, she had announced that she was going to move back in full time. And at the time, I had 7 cats. I had probably 10 foster cats, and Emily. Emily stayed with us minimum 5 days a week. She was with us almost every single weekend and most of the school days. I was not going to stay in a house with somebody that I was separating with and expose that to Emily. We were constantly arguing, constantly fighting. Why would I subject that to her? She's already lived through that with our own family. She didn't need to witness that again. So instead of her moving out and I continued to pay the mortgage, or I paid her whatever she wanted, she refused to leave. So that gave me no other choice but to leave. So she displaced not only myself, but 7 animals, Emily, and a ton of foster cats. I still think to this day that was the most selfish. I'm literally itching because I'm so anxious. Like, I have so much anxiety sharing all of this. Like, I know people think that I'm this confident, secure person, but like deep down I'm insanely insecure and very sensitive, and my anxiety is literally so bad I have quite literally chewed my thumb off. I don't even know how to show it to you guys, but it's like raw. She put my safety and well-being in jeopardy, as well as Emily's and all of our animals. And she got to keep a huge house to herself while I had to pack all my stuff up and move back into my childhood home. Granted, I'm very fortunate and very lucky that I was welcomed back, but I had a weekend to move out and she didn't help me whatsoever. And I know now that that should have never happened, especially when I equally paid for that house. So how can I ever take someone back like that? How can I ever take someone so selfish, honestly? You know, and she has sent me text messages being like, why can't we move on cordially? Why can't we move on? None of her actions aligned with being cordial. There was nothing cordial about bringing lawyers into a situation that could have been handled with mediators or could have been handled as 2 adults. There was nothing cordial about having me and Emily and all of the animals move back into a place that wasn't our safe home, wasn't our safety. And then what continued following was harassment. The constant harassment online of people in her friend group that were making Reddit pages about me. Again, that's kind of like, I'm insinuating that, so don't take that to full heart. I don't know if they were, but the information that they had were only people that, 1, hated me because of the language, and 2, knew very deeply what had happened in the relationship, and it was very private information. and just the way that everything transpired, there was just no chance for reconciliation. I also feel like going to talk about social media now. She said that she hated social media. She hated TikTok. She hated Instagram. Like, she never posted anything. And then as soon as we separated, she all of a sudden became very active online. And I just felt that was very weird to me, because I was like, I had pretty much, you know, helped her grow an entire platform. Like, that community she's made was a community that stemmed from all three of us. So I felt that was really weird, and it made me uncomfortable because of all the times she said that she hated social media and that she wanted to just focus on her career as a physical therapist. So that was weird. But I think the biggest thing was the way that she treated Emily. So I respect her as a human, regardless of the hurt that she has inflicted and what she's done. Like, that respect is not synonymous to her exact actions. There are some exceptions to that, and I talk about that later and more in my original video that I will be posting. And that's just because of some past behavior that directly conflicts with my morals and values, and I didn't even know how extensive it was until the divorce. I hear the decision that she felt she needed to remove herself completely from me and Emily in order to move on. I don't understand that, but I can respect her choice and hear it out. But then to spin a different narrative online is where I have a problem. She stopped reaching out to Emily. The only person doing the reaching out was Emily. Emily would reach out and say, "Hey, I miss you. How are you? I love you." It was never the other way around. That was a very abrupt ending for Emily. It was very harsh, and it was very hostile for her. And her and I both combined have some severe abandonment, and I really can't even imagine how horrible that must have felt for Emily, because they were really close. And again, I understand that it's not her responsibility, and it wasn't, but she was going to have the title of one of Emily's legal guardians. So to go from almost having that title to then not having any relationship with Emily, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. Most all of my pain and sadness about this whole thing has manifested in how Emily was treated. I really could give two fucks about myself. Like, you know, in some ways I feel like I made my own bed, so I need to lie in it. But Emily didn't do anything. She didn't deserve to just be thrown to the side, and then she goes on TikTok Live and says that she still cares about Emily and still has a relationship with Emily. That's bullshit. Don't lie. This whole like people-pleasing victim mentality that she's, you know, withheld this whole time, it's really sad, because you're better off just being honest. I've had my own fair share of shit here. I'm more than aware. I have made plenty of mistakes. I can't even list them all. There's so many. Like, I'm deeply apologetic for that, and nowhere near was I perfect. I ran right to social media the very first thing, and I regret that. That wasn't a proper coping mechanism, and that wasn't a proper skill to illustrate. It just wasn't. I became very destructive in my behaviors. I started isolating. I was really angry. You know, there's so many things that I could have done better. And I deeply, deeply regret and acknowledge those behaviors and have considerably learned from them. I've learned how valuable communication is. I've also learned that you cannot work with people who are rooted in avoidant tendencies. And not that I'm diagnosing anybody here, but she was extremely dismissive and avoidant. Anytime there was a problem raised or a concern brought up, it was dismissed, it wasn't valued, and it was ignored. So that's a huge piece I've learned through all of this. And I'm working on my own communication techniques, my own communication styles, because I'm a very anxious communicator. And I try and just fix everything right away because it eats at me physically. Like, I have a visceral response to when I know that something's not right. So that's a side piece. But again, I think the pain and hurt that has been inflicted upon Emily there was no return. There's no return from that. I know Emily's not my daughter, but I have played such a huge parental role in her life for so many years that when she hurts, I bleed. I hurt deeply. And that brings me to another point of this horrific rhetoric and narrative that she is spinning now, that I lied about my position in Emily's life. As someone who was an active role in parenting her for 4 years, I simply don't understand where this is coming from. The only thing I can think of is that she has nothing else to say about me, so she has to come for that because she knows that will hurt me the most. I don't even care if she were to go around and like defame my name and slander me and say that I cheated on her with 100 people, or freaking, I don't even know what she would say. Say whatever you want. Okay, cool. But the one thing I'm not gonna allow you to say is I'm not gonna allow you to rewrite a narrative that you were a part of. I'm also not gonna allow you to rewrite it when it was my life and my own family can acknowledge how much I've done. So those were the big reasons. And it's really unfortunate how everything played out. And I'm very sad about it, honestly, truthfully, because there was so much love there. We really loved each other. Again, I can only speak for myself, but I really loved her. And I loved her love for Emily and for me and for my family. And I can't really understand the directed anger at my family and at Emily. It's not fair to them. You can direct it at me, but not at them. So hopefully this was a little bit of clarity and a little tea time, mini tea time for the big tea time to come. But thank you guys for taking the time to be here. Thank you for taking the time to hear me, listen to my words, accept my apologies, and be here for me while I figure out this journey, while I embrace this confusing roller coaster of emotions and really embrace this period of solitude in my life. I know I'm not very liked. I know people have a lot to say about me, and that's fine because I hated myself for years. Like, I get it. I hated me. But one thing I will always do is I will always be loud, and I will always tell my truth. Because I don't have anything to hide. So, okay. Love you guys. Stay tuned for part 2, which will technically be like a part 1, but love you.